right, folks, here we are back again. Time for some more prediction videos here. We're heading into the busiest weekend probably of the awards season here. We have both the Producers Guild Award this weekend, and we also have the Screen Actors Guild Award. Those are both going to be held this weekend. PGA, as it's commonly known, Producers Guild, that's on Saturday. And, of course, Screen Actors Guild, known as SAG, is on Sunday. So we're going to start here with PGA. Now, I mentioned it the other day. I said it's kind of a four-way fight here. I can see four movies really conceivably winning Best Film here. The only other exception would be Dunkirk. I would also throw in there as a kind of a dark horse chance at this rate. But I don't know. I'm just getting a feeling like that one, it's just not in the cards for it this year. Anyway, so back to it here. The four films, of course, are going to be Shape of Water, Lady Bird, Get Out, and Three Billboards. So I think I said last time, I said I had Lady Bird out front here to win. Listen out. I'm going with Three Billboards on this one here. Now, the reason I'm going with Three Billboards, and there's a couple other things I'll mention here. There's a couple other Oscar conspiracy things, I guess I'll call them, but they're not really like bad or anything. I'm just saying a couple theories that have come up here. But one, I was kind of looking over some stuff, and I'm looking back on this year now. I'm like, this is really starting to remind me a lot of the 2014 year, the Birdman year, because we have Lady Bird and Get Out, both independent, both very well-reviewed films. Did very well at the box office considering their budgets and stuff, and actually Get Out did phenomenal business considering its budget and release date and all that. But with Blumhouse nowadays, you don't need way too much money to break even. But Get Out, I mean, did spectacular business. Lady Bird is doing really great business. Still, in a few theaters here and there, getting its money in. This kind of reminds me, what two movies from 2014 were both, kind of vying for that Best Picture spot, and were both independent films, both did very well, both critically adored. They were called Grand Budapest Hotel and Boyhood. And I think part of my thinking, looking back on that year, was these two films were so beloved, and there were two camps. There was the Boyhood camp and the Grand Budapest camp. They were both at war with each other, like which one is the better kind of small independent film of the two. And I think back in that year it was more obvious that Boyhood had a little more steam going for it with the win at the Golden Globes and a win at Critics' Choice and so on and so forth. And this year would seem like it would be Lady Bird that has that more steam, I'm thinking, but I don't know. It just seems like the competition back then with Boyhood, it's like, it was kind of more of an obvious fight, but there were definitely some Grand Budapest Hotel votes that were dragging Boyhood down at the end, including at PGA, which is where Birdman started its sweep there. So my thinking is the competition between Lady Bird and Get Out is a lot more stiff. I mean, much more stiff than it was the Birdman year between Grand Budapest and Boyhood. So I think, actually, that Three Billboards is out front, and Shape of Water is the one that can take it down. If any one film is going to do it, I think it's Shape of Water. I don't think it's Lady Bird. I don't think it's Get Out. I think those two, there's such love for those movies, and the bickering that goes kind of back and forth from what I've seen online, at least too, between which film is better, which one is more deserving, which one feels more important for our Hollywood, year. It's like, you get like three people in a room, and it's like one says this, another one says that, and the other one says, I don't know, they're both great. And which is me. I'm the third guy, by the way. But it's like, and then it's just this war goes on. And so I feel like those two are going to drag each other down. And all the number one votes for both of them, I think this will happen at PGA, and right now I'm predicting it'll also probably happen at the Oscars too. Plus, they're both at SAG this weekend too. Shape of Water was not nominated there, so I think that really clears the way for Three Billboards. Plus, it is the most nominated film. Plus, it's likely to take a couple other acting awards. So I think that's really clearing the path here for Three Billboards, unless Shape of Water takes it down at the Producers Guild, which is a possibility. I mean, right now I think DGA 100% is going to go to Guillermo del Toro, so Shape of Water will have a win there for sure. I mean, unless the only thing I can think of here is if Dunkirk by some miracle pulls off PGA here, then DGA might line up for Dunkirk as well. then we have a completely different race at the Oscars. Then all of a sudden, Dunkirk might pull a Grand Hotel. I mean, that's the only other comparison we can bring it to is Grand Hotel back in 32, one of the first 10 films to win Best Picture, and it was nominated for one award the night of the Oscars. That was Best Picture, and it won. Even though, and if you look at it historically, it was probably like within reach of getting nominations for director and actress and actor, and I don't think they had the supporting races yet, but it was very likely to get into those races. But there was a few other nominees that bumped him out. So that's the only comparison we can make here is Grand Hotel in the case of Dunkirk. Anyways, but the thing with me is Shape of Water. When I was watching it, actually, I got the feeling, I was like, man, I said, if this had gotten into SAG, and I remember watching the movie, I was like, all these actors are really working well together, and that for me was, for my money, was like the best like ensemble of the year, in the idea of all of them working together in the story and working together on screen, except for, of course, Michael Shannon, who's the villain, but even more so than Three Billboards. But yeah, it's if that had gotten into SAG, I think we would have had a completely different race. And I think even if Three Billboards had still won the Globe, I would be probably convinced at this rate, after The Shape of Water won a Critics' Choice, that Shape of Water would have won Best Picture. But since it's not nominated at SAG, and we all got burnt to hell last year on that SAG rule, I think Three Billboards is the one I'm still going to go with. But I am not going to be shocked. I'm not going to fall out of my seat in surprise if Shape of Water manages to take down Three Billboards on Saturday night. But yeah, like I said, I think Three Billboards takes this one for sure. And then there is an animated category here, and that's Coco. No question. That one's done. All right, with that out of the way here, we're going to move on now to the Screen Actors Guild Award predictions. Every few years, it feels like we have an easy one. It feels like the races up to this point have really been solidified. It's like, the actors in each of the categories have won everything up to this point. Feels like it's all said and done. We've seen probably the last example of this, that I can think of. Not 2012. We had supporting actor was kind of all over the road that year. 2013 was pretty easy. We had the only question I think going into it was supporting actress, but yeah, that was about it, because most people knew American Hustle was probably going to take out Best Cast. McConaughey was on a roll for actor, and he was in probably the same position actually that somebody like Frances McDormand or Sam Rockwell are in this year, or Allison Janney also too up to this point, where they've won everything. It feels like they've had stiff competition before, like between going back to McConaughey for a second, he had Chiwetel Ejiofor and Bruce Dern, and who else? Who else was nominated that year? Christian Bale was in the category too. I forget who the fifth nominee was, but yeah, it was pretty consistent that it was 4 or 5 of these guys. Oh, Tom Hanks was nominated a lot of places too. He missed out at the Oscars, but yeah. Anyways, but it felt like he'd won the Globe up to that point. He'd won Critics' Choice. It was like if he can win SAG, he's got the Oscar, and of course he did. I feel like McDormand and Rockwell and Janney are in that position now, where if they win this, those categories are over. Pretty much 100% over, because they're all nominated again at BAFTA. I don't think that anything over there is going to change significantly in those races to where all of a sudden we have to consider, this person, this person, this person. But I think that this year will be a pretty easy one at SAG. Now, of course, I would have said the same thing 3 years ago, the Birdman year, but we did have that shocker when Eddie Redmayne won over Michael Keaton. And, of course, Redmayne won BAFTA, too, and went on to win the Oscar, even though Keaton picked up a Globe and Critics' Choice, too. So, if we're going to see any big shockers this year here at SAG on Sunday, there's 2 categories I'm thinking where it could happen. Otherwise, I'm pretty solid on the other 4. Anyway, so let's start with, actually, the first one I'm going to mention here is lead actor. I think Gary Oldman, done. I don't see Chalamet upsetting him. I don't see anybody else really coming close. The only other one I think would be probably James Franco, since he has been alongside Timothée Chalamet he's kind of been the campaign king this year. He's been everywhere, but of course now, after last week's sexual allegation stuff, SAG voting, I believe, was still happening last week. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was. So now, yep, I think that killed any momentum he would have had over Gary Oldman, who's won everything else up to this point. Okay, now let's get to the two tough categories this year. The ones where there is some potential for an upset. Now, I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying some potential. Ensemble. And I think I've said since day one of the nominations, this is going to belong to Three Billboards. And I'm confident in that. But this is the place where, I was just talking about it a couple minutes ago. Lady Bird and Get Out, I think, are going to be at each other's throats in this category. And, despite the fact that there is some backlash against Three Billboards, there's just a New York Times article today that I read and thoroughly disagree with. But anyways, other people have too. Don't worry. It's like, I've seen a little, I don't know, actually, going back to Birdman, actually, if you think about it, that year there were people who were very vocal who did not like Birdman. And, and there were people who very vocal saying, no, I'm gonna put it last. And it feels like, for me at least, from what my perspective, the same amount of people who were against Birdman are now against Three Billboards. So it feels very similar in that regard. So my thinking on that is Lady Bird and Get Out are, like I said, both going to be at about the same number of votes. And Three Billboards, as we've seen here, it's the most nominated film. At the Globes, whenever Three Billboards won anything, the room went really loud, especially for Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell. And that means the actors, and a lot of those same actors that were at the Globes, even some that weren't nominated but were there for their cast and stuff, a lot of them are in SAG, and they vote. And I think they're going to vote big time for Three Billboards. And like I said, there will be love for Lady Bird, there will be love for Get Out. And actually, when we look at the other two nominees here, Mudbound and Big Sick, Netflix tends to do well here at SAG, more so on the TV side, less on the film side. So, Mudbound, I think, will get some votes, not enough to trounce the other three competitors, I don't think. I don't think we're in that close a race here. But, but we could see an upset here. A lot of people are saying, well, not a lot, but there's a group here saying Get Out will get the win here, which is probably the one that's going to upset it. Lady Bird, possibly. But I don't know. I'm thinking Get Out probably is the more likely to upset than Lady Bird, because it is a very diverse cast. You've got a lot of TV stars with Allison Williams and Bradley Whitford, and who else is in TV in that film? Well, those two for sure. Those are big ones. And like I said, the diversity counts. We saw that helped Hidden Figures last year. That helped get Beasts of No Nation a nomination. Mudbound nominated this year as well. The Big Sick had a little diversity in it too, so that helps. And they do like the diversity here at SAG. So that angle I get. But then there's also, and I didn't know this up until recently, but a couple of the key actors in the film are actually not credited, or something. I don't know. It's a SAG rule of some kind or other, and they're not eligible. And they're not included in the cast, and that includes the best friend character, Lil Ray Howery, who I think that's his name, who is the TSA guy in the film. So if Get Out does win Outstanding Cast, he doesn't get an award, and then the actress who played the maid character, she doesn't get an award either, which is too bad because they were two very impressive performers. At least she was really great, and then the friend character, he cracks me up every time. So. So yeah, that's kind of spreading around a little bit. So I think some voters, I don't think all the voters, but I think some voters have kept that in mind. So and that's something SAG is going to have to fix if they're going to correct that and keep this from happening again. It's on them. It's not on the films themselves. It's they're the ones who determine who the nominees are for the outstanding cast. So I think this one goes to Three Billboards. Okay, the only other category I'm seeing here that could bring an upset is Best Actress. I'm confidently predicting Frances McDormand, but she's got her work cut out for her though in this category. Now we saw when Frances won the Globe, a couple weeks ago now. The crowd went ecstatic for her when she was on screen. It was like a goddess on stage. So that's something that I think really helps. Plus, when Saoirse Ronan, arguably her biggest competitor here, when she was on stage accepting her Globe, it was very quick little speech. You know, it was charming, but it was very short, very concise. They gave Frances arguably a little more time because by then they were kind of. It's weird. The Globes are like that. It's like one person gets on stage and it's like, they'll be given a very short amount of time, but then if enough people do that, then it's all about a timing thing. It's all about trying to get back on schedule. And if they get back on schedule enough, they'll be okay. If this person's up and they're going a little more than they need to, that's okay. We've got some spare time. So I think that's part of the reason why Frances got a bigger speech, and yeah, she nailed it. Great speech at the Globes there. She was not there to accept for the Critics' Choice, but I don't think that hurts her. And I think she does win here. The one, Saoirse does have a chance here because Lady Bird is one of the more nominated films. Three Billboards has 4 nominations. Lady Bird has 3, so it's very close. But so if they like Lady Bird enough, and they say, well, we're going to give Sam Rockwell his trophy. We're going to give the film Best Ensemble, but we still want to give Lady Bird something. That could be a case where Saoirse wins. But it's just, I'm just not sensing it this time. I'm not confident enough to pull the trigger on that. Another thing, too, is Sally Hawkins is also in this race. She did lose Critics' Choice. She lost the Globe to Frances, but Shape of Water is not up for Outstanding Cast. I think there's some people that are predicting Shape of Water for Best Picture now. Understandably, they're going against the SAG rule like everybody else did for La La Land, so I'll let you go off that cliff by yourself, okay? I'm not going off that cliff again. Yeah, the thing with her is Shape of Water, there's some people that say, it's in the wind that all of a sudden Shape of Water is going to break the records and it will win Best Picture. If they're on that train and, catching that wind, they're probably putting Sally Hawkins down because they'll want to give Shape of Water, some representation here at SAG because it's not up for Outstanding Cast. If it was, then I would say Shape of Water is probably 50-50 with Three Billboards up to this point. But since Three Billboards has done so well, especially at the Globes, of course, I think it gets the edge here. Again, if they want to give Shape of Water something and have it represented there, and and like I said, going back to my argument there that, okay, we're already giving Three Billboards this, we're giving Three Billboards that, then, they'll give it something else here in Best Actress. That's a vulnerable spot. Also, Supporting Actor could be a vulnerable spot for Sam Rockwell. But, and actually we'll go over to that category now. But I just don't think the competition is gaining up on him because Willem Dafoe's film, The Florida Project, doesn't have any other nominations. Let's see, we've got Woody Harrelson is also in the category. So, there's a chance that he and Sam cancel each other out for supporting actor here. But I'm thinking, Willem, I don't think has the support right now. He lost the Globe, he lost Critics' Choice, and I thought if he was going to win one of those for sure, and Sam was going to win the other, I would have said, if you told me that in advance, you'd said Sam's going to win one, Willem's going to win the other. I would have said, okay, Willem wins Critics' Choice, Sam wins the Globe. Sam did win the Globe, but he also won Critics' Choice. Willem Dafoe, in one of the biggest critical darlings of the year, could not even win at Critics' Choice. Same went with Laurie Metcalf in the supporting category here. We'll get to that one in a minute. So if those two can lose at Critics' Choice, then yeah, I think it's, that might be their last prayer then is SAG. Now, Willem, he's been off doing a movie too. He's in Aquaman, and I think he's been shooting that and maybe one other film. So he has not been campaigning as openly as Sam Rockwell has. He's been everywhere. He's been doing all the big stunts, doing all the big things. He was just on SNL last week. I think everything, it's written in, for me right now, it feels like it's written in stone that Sam Rockwell is going to win on Sunday here. But I could be wrong. It could be. But I think there's enough support behind him that I think he gets this. And then supporting actress here, yeah, I'm thinking Allison Janney. If she can get this, she's got the Oscar too. And like I said, Laurie Metcalf. If if you would have told me, a few weeks ago, okay, Laurie Metcalf and Allison Janney are going to split between Critics' Choice and Globes, I would have said, okay, Allison Janney wins the Globe. Laurie Metcalf is guaranteed to win Critics' Choice, right? Nope, Allison Janney won them both. So yeah, again, I'm thinking if Allison Janney can win here, and I, Tanya is also up for lead actress, so it does have support here. I think that's enough for her to win. Yeah, I think it's down to those two for sure. And again, back to Willem Dafoe and back to Laurie Metcalf here for a quick second. There's a chance now if they, this is kind of their last shot here. This is their last prayer. If they can pull this off, if Laurie can win SAG here, or if Willem Dafoe can win SAG, then we have a pretty competitive race going into the Oscars because nominations, of course, are going to come out on Tuesday. It's pretty safe bet. They're both Allison and Laurie are going to be nominated, and both Willem and Sam are going to be nominated. So if that happens to where Laurie and Willem win SAG here on Sunday, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's Moonlight won last year and nobody else predicted it, or few people did. So okay, if it does happen, then yeah, we'll definitely have competition. BAFTA will be very interesting. I would say Allison Janney probably has BAFTA too, since I, Tonya was way more popular over there than Lady Bird was, and Three Billboards was way more popular over there than Florida Project was. So those two races are probably going to line up with Allison and Sam. So it would have to really come down to the ground battle in Hollywood to see who can campaign more here in the last stretch. All right, but until then, we've got SAG here. One last category here is Film Stunt Ensemble. This one is finally where Dunkirk is going to win one of these big awards. Now, of course, it's to my memory, it's not televised, this particular award. It's kind of one they just announced before the ceremony starts, I believe. Unless they change that in this year, it's actually there. But yeah, Dunkirk, I think, has this. I mean, the only other competition I think it has is Baby Driver and Wonder Woman, but I don't see either of them taking out Dunkirk. It's, they always go with, if it's possible, if it's eligible, they'll pick a Best Picture contender here, like Hacksaw Ridge won this last year. Who won the year before that? Crap, I can't remember now. Oh well. But yeah, like Hacksaw won last year, so yeah, they go with war movies number one, and then also the more likely Best Picture contender number two. Okay, now like I said, there were a couple before we go here, a couple Oscar kind of conspiracy theory things that are running around my mind right now, and it's possible that these happen. Number one. Actually, just recently on Netflix here, I happened to catch it, but Dallas Buyers Club was recently added to Netflix here, so I was watching it again here earlier, and I looked at it again. I'm like, okay, I remember that one. It was up for lead actor and supporting actor, picture. It was also up for original screenplay, makeup, and editing. That's 6 nominations. It did very well at the Oscars. And I remember Oscar morning when that happened, I was like, damn, Dallas Buyers Club really hit, because I did not think it was going to get one of those 9 Best Picture slots. I didn't think it was going to get in for editing, definitely not. And screenplay was a big surprise, too. Now, there's a film this year that can repeat in all 6 of those categories. It's called I, Tonya. It's got lead actress. It's got supporting actress. For me, I've got it into makeup right now. I have it in as if they go up to 10 or maybe 9 or 8 Best Picture nominees, I think I, Tonya gets in there. That's 4. It was nominated at WGA, so it could get original screenplay. It could bump out The Post for original screenplay. And then also it could get in for film editing. It's a possibility. Again, it would have to bump out something big. It would have to bump out probably Darkest... Well, okay, I forget. Actually, hang on. Let me pull up my film editing nominations here again, because I forgot which one it was it would have to bump. But I've got Get Out. I've got Three Billboards. I've got Dunkirk. Who are my other nominees here? I need to go back. Oh, yeah, Shape of Water. I remember we had trouble remembering that one last time. And who's my 5th one? Oh, Blade Runner. Blade Runner, yeah. Yeah, I, Tonya would have to bump Blade Runner, or, well, I think Shape of Water is pretty safe. Shape of Water is really safe, so I think it would have to bump Blade Runner out of there, which it could happen. I mean, Blade Runner right now, it's looking like it'll have enough support here from the other categories here. Like, it gets into production design, it gets into cinematography, visual effects, the sound categories. Let's see here. I was gonna double check here, because the editing guild this year, they went with. I know I, Tonya got into the comedy race for editing. And Blade Runner is in for dramatic editing too, so it's in there, and it got nominated. So oh, there went my lights again. All right, I hate when this fucking happens. Stupid goddamn. All right, well now that that's over with, yeah, so it would have to bump out Blade Runner, which Blade Runner nominated at ACETI, so it's got support. Three Billboards was there, Shape of Water was there, Dunkirk was there, and Get Out was there. So all five of them were there. Also nominated at ACETI were Molly's Game, The Post, Baby Driver, which is another threat in this category, and Lady Bird. Again, if nomination for me that would tell me that Lady Bird has more support than we were originally thinking would be film editing. And there's a couple of other ones like if say Three Billboards gets into score, that would be a big sign that it's got more support than we were thinking. And then Get Out, I think if that can get into something like I think it's in for screenplay. It's in for picture. It's in for right now. I have it in for director, and I have it in for actor. So that's 4. If it can get a 5th nominee somewhere, gosh, I'm trying to think where would be the most likely place. Man alive. That's 5. Sorry, that's 5 nominees, not 4. 5. I mean, where else could it get into? Maybe cinematography, but that would be a real shock. He'd have to, whoever the cinematographer is, would have to bump out like The Darkest Hour, which that could happen actually. Yeah, I don't know if Get Out gets anything more than 5 nominations, that's I think a big sign that it got a lot more support than we were thinking. Yeah, so that was my, I kind of thought about that. I'm like, well, okay, we'd have to bump this, and I was like, well, they kind of are expendable though, and I would feel like for me, I, Tonya is one of my favorite movies of the year. So if it gets more nominations than I'm putting down, it makes me feel bad. The same way Dallas Buyers Club made me feel bad because I like that one a lot too. And I was like, damn, I wish I would have caught that one. But another one too that I was thinking of, and we've seen this trend here for probably the last. Okay, I had it in my head here a second ago, but now I lost it. But we've seen a real trend here in the Best Actress category through the past couple of years. And actually, I'm going to pull up, let's see, while I'm over here. Yeah, look through, because I was going to look through here, because it feels like every year we've got a nominee in lead actress who gets in for that one, and her film, which feels like it would be a big contender, that's its only nomination. Like we saw that happen, especially we can go back to Gone Girl. I remember that one that year. I was like, Gone Girl I had in for like screenplay and one of the picture slots and a couple other things here and there, and it got just lead actress, and I was like, damn, okay. Joy was another one the next year, 2015. And that one, it felt like early on it would be a bigger contender than it turned out to be. But that one only ended up with 1 nomination, Best Actress. One last year was Loving. And that one, was kind of a surprise in the category. But it was one where, it could have gotten in for actor. Maybe it could have gotten one of the weird slots for picture or one of the weird slots for screenplay or something like that. Maybe one of the tech categories. Let's see, if we go further back, 2013, most every nominee in that category had another film nominated, or another nomination in another category somewhere. But I think The Impossible with Naomi Watts was nominated for that. I think that was the only one it got from the Academy Awards. That one had some support to it. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so there are some recent films and in performances in recent memory that it feels like, oh, okay, this one's going to get this, but it only ends up with 1 Best Actress. What if that's The Post? What if that is The Post this year, and Meryl gets in, but it misses for picture, misses for director, misses for screenplay, misses for editing and cinematography and score, which could happen. Again, you'd have to think of all the things that could be bumped out of. It could easily get bumped out of picture because we've got, up to 10 slots. And right now I'm thinking guaranteed 7 with The Post. If that one gets knocked out and I, Tonya gets in, okay, you still got 7. No problem there. And Darkest Hour could still get a slot. That would be 8 and so on and so forth. And then it would have to get knocked out of screenplay, which could happen for I, Tonya or The Big Sick. Both of those could get in instead. And it did miss at WGA. So that one. I might pull the trigger on that one, dropping it and putting in either Big Sick or I, Tonya. Probably I, Tonya would be the one I favor right now, actually. Even though Big Sick did get into WGA, so it's got support too, and it does have Holly Hunter in there too. So the film has more support than just her. Through the rest of the season here, even though it did get skunked at the Globes. You have to miss out for score, which John Williams always, when he's up for something, he always gets nominated. So that one I'd be shaky about. So I think that's why I won't completely pull that and have just Meryl there. But I'm seriously right now I'm this close to pulling the Post out of screenplay and putting in something else, and I'll be kicking myself later if I get it wrong. But it got in at the Globes, man. And traditionally Spielberg films, if they're gonna do well at the Oscars, they get in for screenplay at the Globes. And the Globes, they had a lot of other options this year to go to instead of the Post, like Call Me by Your Name was not nominated, or I, Tonya, they liked it enough. The Big Sick could have been nominated there for screenplay. Get Out could have been nominated for a screenplay, but no, they put it in the Post. Yeah, so yeah. But then, when you look back, though, all those films that were nominated for screenplay for a lot of Spielberg stuff, like Lincoln, I'm pretty sure was there, amongst a few others. Those went on and did very well at the Guild Awards too, and were often one of the bigger nominees Oscar morning. But the Post right now, I'm thinking at most, I'm thinking 4. I might bump that down to 3. It might just end up with 2 if Meryl and Score gets in, but that'd be about it. And who do you put in instead of John Williams for Score? I'm thinking right now you put in Thomas Newman for Victoria and Abdul because he always gets in. So, like I said, there's enough there for me to pull the trigger on it, but right now I'm going to play it safe with the Post. But yeah, I might change my mind on that one very, very soon here. So I'll keep you updated on that, and I'll do another final predictions video before we get to Tuesday morning. As long as internet and everything is up on Tuesday morning, I shouldn't have a problem watching the nominees live, and we'll get to talk about them a little bit. And yeah, it's coming up fast here. But yeah, meantime, we do have a couple categories that we're still shaking our heads at a little bit, trying to figure out what to do with SAG. But yeah. Otherwise, so yeah, depending on what happens at SAG, if it's all those no brainers, no big surprises, then I don't think I'll have anything to really update you on. So I think I'll just leave that one be. But if we do get a big surprise at SAG on Sunday, like all of a sudden Timothée Chalamet wins, or Saoirse wins, or if Allison or Sam lose, or if something else like Mudbound comes up and wins Outstanding Cast, if something big like that happens, not that all those have to happen, but if one happens for sure, okay, then I'll do a follow-up video right after the SAGs are over. But until then, we'll catch you guys next time.